As a magician, I often get asked what my go-to card trick is if somebody hands me a deck of cards and says, hey, perform a trick. If you follow me on social media, you know what my favorite card trick is. It's called the Drunk Shuffle, and I perform it anytime I get put on the spot. So I'll show you how the trick looks, and then I'll teach you the secret. Begin with a borrowed, shuffled deck of cards. You'll ask the spectator to select any card they want. It really is a free choice. Let's say they get this card. Now, it's one of those tricks where it doesn't even matter if you see which card they get. So in this case, they got the 4 of spades. You'll ask them to put it back into the center of the deck. You place it there, you put the rest of the deck on top. Now you'll tell them you're going to do a shuffle in a couple of different ways to try to lose their card. So we'll start with just a couple of cuts, get the card lost in the middle. Then we'll do an overhand shuffle. This is called an overhand shuffle because the cards go over the hand. The second shuffle is the most common of all the shuffles. It's called a riffle shuffle. We call it that because the cards riffle into each other. But the third one, this is the least common of all the shuffles. This one is called the drunk shuffle. We call it that because you probably have to be drunk to shuffle cards like this. It really makes a mess out of the deck. If you look closely, you'll see that there are some cards that are face up the right way. You've got some cards that are upside down the wrong way. You've even got some cards that are back to back. So the deck is a big mess. If I place the cards on the table, nothing else in my hands, I just wave over the top. That's all it takes to get every single card back to facing the right direction. Well, every single card except for one. The one card that I missed just happens to be the selected card. And this is how to do the drunk shuffle. So you begin with a mixed up deck of cards. You could let the spectator shuffle as much as they want. You let them select a card. It is a free choice. And it doesn't even matter if you see the card that they select. So in this case, they got the 3 of clubs. You're going to split the cards and have them place their card back into the middle of the deck. Now, as you place the rest of the cards on top, you're going to get a pinky break. And I'm using a huge pinky break here, but from the front, it's really hard to see that. I'm doing that because I'm going to want to bring their card back to the top of the deck. There are many methods to do that, but the one I'm going to use is just a multiple cut shift. So I'll start cutting cards off the top above my pinky break. I'll just keep cutting small packs of cards until I get to my break, which is right here, where my pinky is. Then I'll just place the rest of the pack on top, moving their card right back to the top of the deck. Now I'll explain that I'm going to show a few different types of shuffles. And the first one is an overhand shuffle. When I begin that overhand shuffle, the first thing I do is with my thumb, just peel that top card off, which is their card, moving it to the bottom of the deck. I peel one card off, then I toss cards on top of that card, moving it right there to the bottom. The convincer move here is then I'll grab more cards, which looks like I'm taking the bottom cards and tossing them, but I'm really just holding with the pads of my fingers. That 3 stays in position. I pull cards from above it, and I toss them on top. And from the front, it looks like I'm truly shuffling these cards. Now that their card's on the bottom, I just have to be careful not to flash that because I don't want them to know where their card is. The second shuffle is a standard riffle shuffle. Just want to be careful to keep this card, their card, on the bottom. So I'll start with this hand first, and I riffle them together. The third one is the actual drunk shuffle, but before I do that, you'll notice that I bowed the cards down a little bit like this. And that's important because later you're going to have to find a break between the 2 different types of cards, which I'll show you in a minute. So now you'll start pushing a few cards at a time over from one hand to the other. And you'll take that chunk of cards and you'll flip your entire hand over. You'll toss more cards now, sliding them underneath. So the cards are always going underneath. This is my right hand. The cards in my left hand stay underneath. I just keep flipping this hand over and passing cards, but the cards always go under. Because if I were to put these cards over like this, that would actually shuffle the cards, and I don't want to do that. So I'm going to just keep flipping these over until I get to the very last card, which is their card. When I get to that card, I am actually going to, for the first time, instead of putting under, I'm going to put that one on top. And by doing that, I've effectively split the deck into a few packs. All the bottom cards are face down. These middle cards are all face up. And the very top card, which is their card, is the only one faced the wrong way in this half of the pack. From the spectator's point of view, this deck is a real mess of up and down cards. I'm going to convince them of that by showing them. I'll grab the bottom portion of the cards, which I know are faced the right way, and I'll show a card and I'll say, these cards are face up. Then I'll grab cards in the top half. I'll say, there are some cards that are face down. And there are some cards that are back to back. And as I say that, I'm just going to look for that little split. It's very easy to see here because I bowed the cards. They naturally split themselves. So from the front, you can't see that. But from the side, I can easily grab my thumb there, and I'll say, some cards are even back to back. When I show they're back to back, I use my right hand to flip the cards over, but I'm going to keep them flipped over. I'm just going to finish the cut by putting these cards on top. And now I've fixed the entire deck except for the one card, which is their selected card in the middle. Now you could reveal it like this, and it looks pretty nice to show their card right, the only face-up card. But I like to do it the other way. After I clean the deck up, I'm going to flip the entire deck over, pretend I'm doing some magical wave. Then when I spread the cards out, it looks like I got them all right except for one. Almost like I made a mistake, but then I can show them it wasn't a mistake. It was actually their card.